And I mean, and not in a check the box way. The fact that, that this team is going to be playing at Climate Pledge Arena, just like the Seattle Storm plays there as well, along with the boys. How are you feeling about how Seattle has been welcoming women's teams in general? Because I think you also got an opportunity to kind of visit some places, maybe visit some of the other teams. What's been your impression of how the sports fandom is here in Seattle, especially around women's sports?
Yeah, I think Seattle in general is obviously a huge sports city, but more than that, they really do show up for women and female athletes, which visiting, I was kind of able to get a taste of just meeting people in the community who really had a deep knowledge of female sports and the different teams, and then already knowing a lot about our team, even though we haven't hit the ice yet. It's really evident that people are willing to come out and support us, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, there was even something. I talked with a woman named Erin Morris. She's a college professor, and she was doing some research on specifically women's learn to play hockey programs. And I ended up talking with her because Seattle was one of, I want to say like 30, maybe 32 women's learn to play programs in the entire United States. So I mean, if there's thousands of like co-ed and men's programs, but yeah, there's only 30 something women's programs, and Seattle is lucky enough to have a couple of them. So yeah, definitely a good hub for women's sports around here. And then what were they saying? They said this, Alicia, when we were at the media announcement for PWHL Seattle, that Seattle's the first U.S. city to have professional leagues in 3 different women's sports, which I
Yeah,
thought was a pretty cool stat.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
nothing to sneeze at either.
No, definitely not.
No, and it really is evident when you go out there and meet the people and just the culture surrounding supporting female athletes. It's really exciting to be a part of.
Well, speaking of people and culture, how are you? I know you're going back and forth right now, but how are you? What are your impressions of being on this side of the country? And again, one of the things I was feeling like connected to you about was, I grew up in Michigan, so I spent a lot of time in Ontario, and I was saying Canada never felt like another country to me because door to door from my house to the Ambassador Bridge was 20 minutes tops, and we all shared the same TV shows and stations and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I moved to the West Coast that I was like, oh, it is another country. It is different, because now I'm going into British Columbia and not Ontario, which I was thinking about. Have you experienced something similar as someone who grew up in Ontario, went to school at Colgate, which is in New York, so the same time zone, but now you're over here? How's that been
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah, that definitely resonates a lot. I think even going to Colgate, I was considered an international student, but I lived closer to school than a lot of my classmates. I was only about 3 hours away, so it kind of didn't feel too dissimilar from home, but I definitely felt that change when I went out and visited a couple weeks ago. It's completely different culture compared to Canada. It actually does feel a little bit like I'm in a different country, but at the same time, the people have been super welcoming, and that's something that I think will make it feel like home a lot quicker.